is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of A24, the podcast that takes a look at the A24 library 24 minutes at a time. I am Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we're telling everybody to eat a dick as we venture into sci-fi Kyoto and talk about A24's newest Apple TV Plus show, Sunny.
Sunny follows Susie, an American woman living in Japan, and Sunny, a domestic robot made by her husband's company, as they uncover the dark truth of what really happened to Susie's husband and son, who disappeared in a mysterious plane crash. Ben, welcome back to the show, man. It's been a few weeks without you.
It feels like it's been forever. It's crazy. We missed a week, and then I missed last week, and here we are. We're back.
We're back, and probably not with a very splashy project. I hate to break it to you and to other people. Not saying it's not good. I just don't really know who's heard about this show and who's watching this show. And I guess maybe that's something we'll talk about. I quickly wanted to ask you, and I think I know the answer to this, but
yeah.
Have you seen Maxine yet, Ben?
I haven't been to a theater in so long. It's been way too long. So no, I have not seen Maxine yet.
Dang.
I haven't seen a lot of stuff, unfortunately. And judging by people's reviews, I'm not like rushing to see Maxine. Unfortunately, as much as I loved X and Pearl, I'm not running to the theater.
Man, that is why I was so bummed out when you didn't get the chance to be on the pod last week and see Maxine opening weekend, because I feel like now you've been inundated with people that are like quite, I guess, like a pretty mediocre reception to an otherwise like quite pivotal horror duo in Pearl and X.
Yeah.
And I was really hoping that you'd see it and you would come on and you would be like, Maxine, best of the trilogy. Because I feel like that would be the energy you'd bring to that movie.
It's like, loved it. It was perfect. It's great.
So good.
Who knows? I mean, maybe when I do see it, that's how I feel about it. But unfortunately, I can't speak to it yet.
Yeah, that is a bummer. One thing I hope that you've seen, a new A24 trailer. This is the only bit of housekeeping we'll do here on the show. It's for a kind of a big movie that we've talked about on the Movie Draft podcast a couple of times.
Okay.
A movie starring Andrew Garfield, Florence Pugh. It's called We Live in Time. Have you seen the trailer for this movie?
No, because the only time I've seen people talk about it is when I'm at work and everyone's like, oh, this looks like sad or whatever. I'm like, well, I don't want to watch this right now. Like, this is not the time. So I still have not seen it.
Wow, you haven't seen the trailer. Okay. Well, I guess that might cut our conversation a little bit short because I had some questions about the trailer for you. I guess I can say, like, I've seen the trailer. I have heard rumor that maybe this movie isn't as good as people are hoping that it will be, thinking that it will be. So there's that. That's just what I've heard. I've obviously have not seen the film. It is slated to premiere at TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, in September. And I am hopefully going to TIFF. So I'm hoping that in a few months I can come on the pod and say, I've seen this movie before you, which would be really exciting because I always like to do that.
That's always fun. Yeah, and you said, if I remember correctly, that you feel like this is going to be your favorite movie of the year. Is that right?
I feel like it will be up there.
It could be, yeah.
So here's the problem that I have with this movie, though, is that it is either going to be a top 3 movie of the year for me, or I'm absolutely going to hate it. It is. There will be no middle ground. Like, I will not walk out of that theater and be like, pretty good movie. It's going to swing one way or another, and it just depends on if I'm in the right headspace, if things go the right way in the movie and don't go like a hokey, cheesy route, which I'm a little afraid of. I gotta be honest, I'm a little scared that they're like beating that bat a little bit much there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair concern to have. It'll be interesting, I guess, whether it's going to be great or it's going to be fantastic or not. You know what I mean? If it's just going to be awful, but it sounds like it won't be mid, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You're going to either love it or hate it. Is what
you don't need to throw out strays. We are recording at 10:30 p.m. Pacific, 11:30 your time, Ben. I'm catching you in a raw state here. And
I'm tired. I had a couple margaritas at the work event. Like, I'm ready to go. I've had a Dave single. We're ready to party.
We don't need the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood strays. Just keep that out of here.
We always need it.
We Live in Time is a decade-spanning love story, obviously starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, like I said. So I feel like it's going to find its people. It's probably going to be a really big deal when it comes out. I'd be really curious what first reactions out of TIFF are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a movie that I am cautiously excited for. I will say I'm going to temper my expectations that it on the off chance that it is actually not as good as we think it's going to be. Okay, we're talking about Sunny. This is a new show debuted on Apple TV Plus just 2 days ago. By the time this pod is going to come out on July 10th, we got the first 2 episodes. They're about 35-ish minutes each. Created by Katie Robbins, starring Rashida Jones, Hidetoshi Nishijima, and Joanna Sotomura as the voice of Sunny, the robot. Kind of really the main people that we've gotten so far, we've gotten to talk to so far in the show. Pretty easy watch, I feel like. I busted it out this afternoon, just back to back. I'm curious how you feel about this new TV show, Sunny.
I feel okay about it. I don't know. Like I definitely enjoyed the second episode more than the first episode. The first episode to me was a real slow burn. To the point where I'm just like, what is the point? You know, like
what are we doing?
What's happening here at all? Because you know the tagline, like you talked about, like this like mysterious plane crash and all that kind of stuff, and it's like it doesn't feel like it really gets talked about too much. The relationship between Sunny and what is Rashida Jones' character's name? Susie? Yeah,
Susie.
like their relationship is really kind of weird. And I mean it's set up to be that way, but it's like it doesn't draw any connection of like, oh, I'm curious how Susie's feeling right now. It's like she's not feeling anything. She's just telling Sunny to go to sleep, you know, like this doesn't seem like anything's really happening here. But some stuff picks up in the second episode, which I think makes it curious, like how the rest of it's going to go out. Like I am curious to keep watching this for sure. If it continues on this trajectory, but if they had, it feels like it makes sense why they released 2 episodes. If they had just released 1 episode, I'd be like, all right, I don't know. I think I'm kind of out. Like this is like nothing is drawing me to this at all. Like I don't really care about anything or anybody. There's nothing exciting happening. There's nothing really of interest happening to me. Like this woman has lost her husband and her son. And so it's like, I just don't care. That's really weird. You know what I mean? Like that's like, what a bummer feeling
Soulless
to have.
Ben back at it.
Yeah. It's just like our protagonist has lost the 2 most important people in her life. I'm just like, whatever, you know, like, I don't know what's going on. So, it's kind of interesting, but again, like it picked up more for me on the second episode. Like, okay, cool. I'm into this. Like, I enjoy this a little bit more, like almost like their not buddy cop thing, but like their team up, you know, like here, I'll do this. Then you can go out this store. And then like they're working together. I'm like, okay, like if it's going to go into this element here, I'm excited about it. So I am optimistic. It makes sense to me why 2 episodes came out. I don't know that Rashida Jones is like, I don't know that she's miscast or anything like that, but I just,
this is a great point. Exactly where I was going to go with my conversation.
Really? Yeah. Like it's just, maybe it's not as funny as I want it to be. And then I feel like, why do you have Rashida Jones if you're not allowing her to be really humorous? And maybe it's just not what the show is going for, but it's like, I think she has that dry wit and that kind of stuff that like we get like hints of, like the slightest hint, but even then the comedy didn't always land for me. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What did you think?
Yeah, I will say we'll stay spoiler free, specifically spoiler free for probably 5 or 10 more minutes. And then I'll give a spoiler warning before we dive into maybe some things if you do plan on watching this show and don't want to be spoiled of the first couple of episodes. I really agree with you. I'm quite in the middle on this show.
Mm-hmm.
I will watch the next episode. And I would guess that we will probably cover it here on the show. And we'll probably do what we usually do, which is like a premiere, first couple of episodes, and then we'll circle back when the season is over and we'll do a full recap.
Yeah.
So I'll watch the show because we have the pod. If I watched this, if I was just like an average consumer and I was like, oh, wow, okay, cool, new show on Apple TV Plus, let's give it a whirl, I would be quite out.
Yeah.
I I think you said it exactly perfect. The two big points is like, what are we doing? I don't really know. And even though there is a great inflection point of tension of like Susie has lost her husband and her son and is now gifted a robot designed by her husband, and there is a mystery. That sounds great. It almost sounds more intriguing me just saying that than in the 2 episodes that we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
And I also just like don't really know the tone of the show. Just like you said, like I don't know it. Is it trying to like lean into the sci-fi aspect? Is it trying to be a true blue like mystery? It's got a very 50s kind of James Bond-esque inspired kind of its introduction title card. So like, is it trying to go in that route? Is it trying to be a dark comedy? Like there is definitely some dark, weird humor in this show. I just don't really know which way it's spinning. And so I just agree that like, I don't really know if I care very much about any decisions that are being made whatsoever. The negative stuff out of the way, I will say I loved the score so far in the first 2 episodes. I thought it was quite good. And I think the visuals and the like immersive nature of like a near future sci-fi Kyoto is pretty cool. I think it looks really good. I think they've done a really good job. It definitely gives off vibes of Severance, which we just got the very first teaser to season 2 that's coming out 3 years after the first season, which is just a whole different conversation. So I don't know. I think it's fine. Do we have any other like spoiler free thoughts that you want to say? I know you mentioned Rashida Jones possibly being miscast, and while I don't have anybody that I would put in her stead, like I agree with you. I just also have never been one personally to be like, Rashida Jones, gotta see that. I don't know if she has that power.
I mean, judging by how little people have talked about this show, I don't know that she does, unfortunately.
Yeah. Can we talk about the marketing for the show? If you're going in that direction, who knows
feel like
about
we're
this show?
We're going to do the most marketing for this. We're going to do more marketing for the show than Apple did. You know what I mean?
I do. Apple, send the check. Come on. We're doing the hard work here.
It's crazy. Like even scrubbing through the Apple TV app, like I feel like I had to go down like 8 rows of other shows just to finally see this. I'm like, why are you guys hiding this? This just came out today. Like this is kind of nuts to me. But yeah, I don't know. The marketing seems non-existent. Like if for so many reasons, if we didn't have this pod, I wouldn't know the show existed.
Yeah. 100%.
And like you said, I actually said this to my partner as we were watching it. I think it was in between the first 2 episodes. I was like, if I didn't have to talk about this for the pod, I wouldn't watch the show.
Yeah.
Like it's just not drawing me, and again, like the second episode kind of hooked me a little more, but like that's a bummer when your first episode is just like, I don't give a shit about anything right now. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's a good time to go into spoiler territory because I do want to tackle that idea of the first episode. So spoiler warning for Sunny. It's on Apple TV Plus right now. You can stream the first 2 episodes. This idea that Susie's husband, Masa, and son are killed in a mysterious plane accident. Now, the kind of overarching direction of the first 2 episodes is trying to figure out if they were actually on that plane. There is a mystery somewhere involved in that maybe they weren't on the plane. Maybe they didn't die. And there are things that happen along the way that we'll talk about that kind of make that a thing. I think the first episode, the biggest time that it dropped the ball was like just not giving us any setup with Susie and her family. We immediately jump to, okay, they're gone. And it literally does exactly what you're saying of like, I don't fucking care. Great. Like, cool. They're gone. Like that is a story that we have now found ourselves threading the needle on in the most perfect zone of like either direction. There's a story. Right in this slit, there is no story.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Like we pick up, post accident for the most part, I mean, there's that little prologue thing that we get before the title card sequence. But then all of a sudden it's just like we're kind of in media res of sorts, which is like the accidents
Yeah.
happened and we're trying to figure it out. It's like, okay, I guess we're just playing catch up with Susie here and seeing what's going on. But it's hard when there's no connection made between the characters. You know, it's like, well, how much do we care? Because I don't know. I mean, I've never obviously experienced this kind of loss. And so I can't speak to how the character is behaving. But if anything, she just feels numb at this point, and it's hard to connect to someone who is not showing any emotion. You know, it's like, well, how is Susie feeling? Like, is she just numb because it's just happened? Does she not care? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
or like what's going on? It's hard to connect to somebody like that.
Yeah, and she's like borderline alcoholic as well, because like she just
Yeah.
like is drinking all the time. Which as like a character trait I understand of like, okay, cool. This is what she's doing to cope. Let's like work with that a little bit. But it also mutes a lot of other things, and it allows her a very shallow indulgence into her mind and like her emotional state. What I did find interesting in the first 2 episodes is this idea that her husband was not really who she thought, her husband Masa.
Yeah.
And not even in like the main mysterious storyline way of like, you're telling me he didn't work on refrigerators? Like, okay, sure, that's a little intriguing, I guess, but like I'm much more intrigued about like why people are calling him an intimidating asshole, and that's not who he is at home. I'm far more interested in the character traits than I am in like this, again, like very Severance adjacent of like, yeah, he told me he worked on refrigerators for the last 15 years, but that department moved to Myanmar 12 years ago. So I guess he's been working on murderous robots.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm way more interested in your marriage, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And she doesn't necessarily come across as like concerned about that. You know, like
she like no shock. She's just like, oh, okay, I guess that's weird.
Yeah.
And then like she like moves on.
Yeah, and it's just so strange. And it's like it's brought up in an interesting way at the Christmas party with her talking to that dude, and he's like, oh my God, like I'd be super afraid of this guy. It's like,
yeah.
oh, like, what do you say? Like the best thing that could happen is you get hit by a bus or something like that.
Kind of
It's
funny.
like,
yeah. And that's that dark humor that I'm talking about where like that landed for me. Other funny instances, and primarily done at the behest of like Rashida Jones, did not work for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, it's interesting because I feel like obviously the character is going through a lot, but it doesn't feel like there's much given to the audience to connect to.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have a couple broad spanning questions, and then we'll do our episodes. People who have seen the show will understand this. People who haven't seen the show, I hope you watch the show so at least you can understand why I'm asking this question. Because I'm not that kind of a guy, but maybe I am. I don't know. We're gonna discover. Ben, would you fuck a robot?
Jesus Christ, no! Like, I may not have much to work with anyway.
It worries
but
me that you're thinking so much. The gears are spinning. You're trying to figure out what to answer. That's
no,
enough
I was gonna
proof
say,
for me.
like there's not much to work with anyway, but I got to save what I have, and I would just be too afraid that like something would go wrong while doing that, like some sort of malfunction. Like I don't need the Lorena Bobbitt robot to Lorena Robbitt, I guess, to like come to life and have all that happen. Like there just seems like there's too much concern for malfunction. There's just no way.
Yeah. Too much risk. Yeah. Something will get caught. Something will get stuck.
Can't have that.
It's all downhill. Yeah. I agree with you. Enticing, but I agree. You gotta think with your brain on this one. No good on the robot. So shout out to Mixie for making it happen. You do you, and I think I guess I hope that we could live in a world one day where like my bartender is just like, yeah, I fucked my robot. It's a good time. And I'm just like, all right, cool. I'm happy for you.
Cool.
Might be sooner than we think. I don't know about that. But
like I hope you fuck better than you make drinks, because apparently her drinks suck, which is a bummer.
So what's the deal with that storyline about her math? Like her math, that she doesn't know how to do math, and like that's a big point of that conversation.
Yeah.
And then it just like
goes away.
And it just goes away. Like we just like leave. Which I thought was very, very strange. Okay, on the flip side of that, would you reprogram a robot to kill somebody?
Damn, that's intense. I don't know if I could, man. That would just be that's a lot. That's a lot to take on. I might take the risk of fucking a robot before I'd have one kill
Yeah, see,
somebody.
this is a good like would you rather question. I guess I should have
Yeah,
framed it as that.
if it's a would you rather, I'd fuck it for sure rather than have it kill somebody.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Definitely, I would rather fuck a robot than reprogram it to be murderous.
Yeah.
I think that puts me in a good light. I hope people take that in a positive fashion.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just looking out for everybody else. You know, I'm taking the risk on myself here.
Let's pull that
Okay.
clip.
Yeah, let's chop that audio up and we're gonna save that. We're gonna put that
Yeah.
in the archives.
Yeah.
Okay, episode 1 is titled "He's in Refrigerators." We get the really big hook that I think, in theory, is much more enticing than it actually is. Like, I think the showrunners are like, "Whoa, this is gonna be bold. This is gonna be really interesting. Some crazy murder mystery is gonna be taking place." I think a lot of projects do this idea very, very well and execute it very well. And I don't know if it's that shocking, but it is basically like a robot murdering people and then kind of like an on the spot cover up of that,
Yeah.
so as to intrigue us as to say like, what's going on with these robots? Which I think works partially, but it also again like, we don't know the robots. So like this idea that one of them kills a bunch of people, that could be totally normal. And it's shaking
Yeah.
out to be like, maybe that is normal. And so like, I again, like, I don't know if I'm really interested. I don't know if I really care because like, I guess that sucks that these people died from a robot. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I don't really give a shit about its, programming malfunction.
Yeah, it feels like it just like fell flat, like they thought it was going to be a lot more shocking than it was, but as this is happening, it's like, is it supposed to be doing this? I don't know. Like
Right.
I'm not
No
getting,
reference, no frame of reference.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, so they made this robot kill people, and then at the end, it's like, oh wait, they don't like that it did that, but these people also again like don't seem super stressed out about it. Like I
Right.
don't know, like it didn't hit. I think like they wanted it to.
I mentioned the 50s spy intro, which I do think is pretty good. I like the
Yeah.
art for it. And I think it works well with the vibe of this show. Susie and her mother-in-law, which would be Masa's mother, are being questioned. Really cool device that Susie wears, kind of this like automatic translator, and it looks like kind of a Star Wars adjacent a little bit, where like everybody has this one device and it does everything they need it to do. It translates languages. It controls your home, your computer, your TV, like all of these other things, your lights. And so she just takes like the ear pod from that and puts it in her ear, and they can just fluently talk back and forth between English and Japanese, which I thought was really cool. And I do like them being questioned because obviously it gives us more information on the plane crash and Masa and all of these things. But like Susie's already pretty numb at that point and is already like being really quite dark in like her responses. And I don't know if it's a good entry point into her character.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all that. I loved the translating device. I thought that was very unique and interesting. It was also surprising to me that like an Apple show wouldn't use a version of an iPhone.
This is interesting, yes.
Because like it feels like that's just easy publicity for them, easy marketing, So like, oh, kind of surprised they went with this like weird looking device, whatever it was. But it is kind of cool to see everything that it can do, like being a projector almost, like all kinds of stuff. It can do everything. So
maybe it's a next gen plug. Maybe they're like, let's put in a prototype and see how people react.
Yeah, I like that. I'm into that. It was interesting to see the relationship with the mother-in-law. Like you kind of get a taste of that a little bit, but even just some of the stuff fell flat where again, it was just like she's eating all the heads off of the Santas. And it feels like it's supposed to be played up for a little bit more humor, but like nothing really comes of it. It's just like, all right, well, she's just eating this part of the cookie, but why? You know what I mean? Like there's no point to it. It's just the thing that's happening. So an interesting introduction to the character.
Yeah, definitely create some initial tension between Susie and the mother-in-law, which I think
Mhm.
is going to play out in more kind of prevalence. It does in episode 2 already that we see
Yeah.
where the mother-in-law doesn't really like Susie and doesn't really trust her or listen to her memories or opinions or anything like that. And then this guy named Yuki Tanaka shows up at Susie's house and is like, here's a homebot, which a lot of people have. It's
Yeah.
total normal thing. It's a homebot, and it's a robot that is your friend. And while this is not a novel idea, like at all, I think it's executed well visually here. I like the build out of the robot, and I do, of course, like the thematic elements that are at play of like how much do you trust technology, how much are you willing to share and invest, and how much do you
Mhm.
need connection, and all of these questions that I hope we explore farther as the show goes on. A really kind of like shady situation that I think could have lasted maybe like literally 10 more minutes, and you could have got a lot of mileage out of like who's Yuki Tanaka and like why does Masa never why did he never say he worked on robots, and like
Yeah.
why did the refrigeration division move to Myanmar 12 years ago? Like I think there were a lot of interesting these kind of like nuggets that again just really fell flat, and we didn't have time to like sit with them and explore and like question why things are weird. We just kind of like accepted them and we're like, here's Sunny the robot, and I get it, the show is called Sunny. Maybe it would have played better if that was like the ending sequence of the first episode, to be like, oh well, I'm definitely locked in for 2 because like what's the deal with this robot?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think if we end with that, where like, it's like, no, he works on refrigerators, and then we get left with the hook of like, oh, no, refrigerators left 12 years ago. Like,
That's interesting to me.
yeah. And then like cut to black, where he's also, or like when Yuki's like, oh, you're also a laugh riot, like that was kind of funny.
That was funny. That was really good.
And then it's just like, oh, it's funny you thought he was in refrigerators because no, he's not. And then just having her be like, well, what the fuck?
What?
And then like we cut. It's like, okay, cool. So we left with a little bit of tension here, but instead we're then just like forced into the relationship with Sunny and Susie, and we
Yeah.
don't have time. It doesn't seem like for her to like focus on what she just learned. Now she's dealing with this robot instead.
Yeah, definitely agree on all fronts there. I think we should make a TV show, Ben. I think that's
Let's
where
do
we're
it.
going. You and I,
Yeah.
we gotta fire one up. Sakamoto Incubator. This is where Susie goes and basically takes place during the Christmas party. She's trying to find more information about Masa and goes and finds this area called Division 5.
Mhm.
Finds a couple of dogs down there, which like what the fuck is going on? Like why are there just 2 puppies in this room? I have no idea. And then she spots some blood. And pretty fascinating. Again, would have been a great spot to like hook me in for episode number 2. And they're like, you know what? Let's just bypass it. Let's just keep on going.
Yeah. We'll just keep going. She gets out of there just fine. And now we're at a bar. It's like, okay.
It's like no,
I
yeah, it's
guess.
like no tension building time whatsoever.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
It's just flashpoints.
Yeah, 100%. And it just doesn't do enough. Like maybe this stuff will come back later, but they didn't do enough. Again, like we both said, like for both of us to be hooked into this show if we weren't like quote unquote forced to watch it. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
the pod. It's just like I think we both would have been out after episode 1. We're like, all right,
Yeah,
I
I think
actually
so.
don't care what happens, so it's a
I
bummer.
think so. She meets Mixie at the bar. This is the courageous woman who is like, can I show you something I've never shown anybody? I'm balding in this area. Also, I fucked my robot. Which, like you do your thing. You live your best life.
Mhm.
Can't make drinks. Just got a job. Kind of a fruitless conversation, to be honest. Like I was watching and I was like, okay, what are we pulling at here? What am I
Yeah.
actually caring about? Like, is it the fact that Susie actually does need connection and like she's just pushing Sunny away, even though she's trying to find connection with Mixie?
Yeah.
And while that's interesting, we've lived with Sunny for like 4 minutes so far at this point in time. And so like that idea is really, really distant already. And then she just goes and Mixie's like, did I say something? And then just gone. And then that's that. And then Susie takes Sunny to a bridge, puts Sunny to sleep, and then Sunny ends up coming back at like the end of the episode. And while that's interesting in theory of like, how did Sunny do that? Again, I also don't give a shit. And it's like, that sucks. You're a robot. Something's going down. Tough luck. Best of luck in your life.
It's an interesting thing that happens in this episode multiple times where she puts Sunny to sleep and then Sunny seems to just like reappear somewhere. It's like, why are you not concerned about why this is happening? Like, you're not like, wait, why aren't you staying asleep? Like, that seems like it could be a cause for concern, but that never really appears to be a problem for Susie. She's like, all right, well, I guess she's back up. Like, well, this just was like 5 minutes ago. You put her to sleep. So like, how long does the sleep last? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. Taking her to the bridge, realizing that she can't lift Sunny over the edge. So it's like, all right, I'm just going to put it to sleep and leave. And then, then it comes back and that's it.
It just feels like a real like episode 5 situation to me.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh my God, I've spent all this time with Sunny. I have this big connection. She knows so much about me. I still hate her. Let's throw her over a bridge. Oh, okay. That's interesting now because we have a huge rapport and maybe you just hate things that you connect to. And like, there's so much ground there. There's so much runway. And we just like got it in minute 28 of the first episode, which I think is crazy. Okay, episode 2, Don't Blame the Machine. It starts out with Susie at a ramen machine, and we have these like kind of changed, quote unquote, flashbacks of her meeting Masa, her husband, and how they kind of kick off their relationship and their adoration for one another. Kind of turns out Susie has always been kind of an asshole. She's just like kind of a mean person, I feel like.
Yeah, it's interesting. This flashbacks, the way they play them is kind of cool in the sense that like they're being, I guess, interjected with like the current stuff that she learned about her husband.
Yeah.
You know, and so while we are getting some flashbacks straight up, we're also getting like, why aren't you like, you're not in refrigerators, tell me all about it. It's like, well, yeah, you didn't actually like ask him that. So that's done kind of interestingly of like what she wishes that she knew, mixed in with like what has actually happened. But this was, do we get a flashback in episode 1? I don't even remember if we do or not, but I feel like we got a lot of them in episode 2.
Really the only flashback we get in episode 1 is the continued recollection of just saying goodbye to
and like
Masa and her son, the clothes they're wearing, the color of the shoes, like in the terminal of the airport. That's the only thing that we see.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it feels like we get a lot of them in episode 2, and I think for the most part they kind of work. It's kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah, I think it's a really fascinating concept, and I think it's a great way to tackle this like kind of coinciding worlds and in memories and ideas of who you think somebody is and what you might have wished they were or they explained to you. Susie decides to take Sunny to an electrician, which I really liked. I thought it was a great build out of like this kind of lo-fi / sci-fi Kyoto that we're living in. Because like, it's like a really old electrician kind of in like the basement of a building that's just like doing it, you know, like the best they can. It's not some factory like dealership or anything like that. And this is where Susie learns about something called the Dark Manual. And one of the electricians, not the old guy, but the younger woman, shares this information with Susie as she's leaving the shop and is like, yeah, if it has this symbol on it, it's part of this thing, the builder, whoever it may be, and like lifts up her shirt a little bit and is like tattooed with this dragon symbol. I have like a bajillion questions about this, but I'll start with the first question of like, I wonder what you think about the fact that this girl is like, it could be a person. It could also be a robot, like reprogramming these. I think that's really fascinating. We don't dive into that anymore. What do you think, as of now, the Dark Manual really is?
Oh, man, I genuinely have no idea. I'm excited to find out what it all is. And I guess we see later in the episode, like Masa's kind of tied to that symbol, you know, so we know he's kind of involved with it. So is is this part of what he's working on, or is this like extracurricular, like dark web kind of shit that he's doing? Like, I'm curious to see how this all plays out.
Is it some like gang? Is it some like underground affiliation thing that's like, because I guess I don't, the title, The Dark Manual, it is terrible in my opinion. I think it's very, very bad. Like it implies literally a single manual of like how to reprogram your robot. And meanwhile, she's like, these symbols, they're all over everybody and they're all over things. And like, that's how you know it's connected. So is it like a big underground society of things? They just call themselves the Dark Manual? Like,
I mean,
I
it
don't
could
know.
be. We get hints about the Yakuza. They kind of talk about that a little bit in episode 1.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's true. They've fallen off their game, the Yakuza.
Yeah, so maybe this is like a nerd version of the Yakuza, you know? Like, I don't know. This is kind of what hooked me in episode 2. I'm curious about it.
Yeah, I would say this is the most interesting idea floated around in episode 2. Kind of in conjunction with this is the fact that, and it's towards the end of the episode, we get like 2 little flashes of some guy that has a homebot that is acting as like a spy robot that like falsely delivers what are supposedly to be Masa's shoes from the wreckage to make Susie believe that he has been found in the plane crash. Who the fuck is this guy? Like, why the fuck do I care that there's a spy going around on Susie? Like, I think this is being played extremely just wrong, just like inefficiently, to say the least.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's not necessarily drawing the tension that I think they're doing.
Right.
But yeah, I'm hopeful they're able to course correct.
I am hopeful as well. Really, the only other thing I wanted to mention here is this Ematech escape kind of scene that we get, because Susie goes in, convinces that guy from the Christmas party that she lost her wedding ring in Division 5. He lets her in. She really guilt trips him, which I thought was kind of funny. And she goes in there, realizes everything that she had seen has now been covered up. Some guy at the very beginning of the episode, which I like the tie-in here, is alerted to an unauthorized presence in Division 5. He runs away from his like VR meditation session that's going on and knocks a bunch of people over, tries to find Susie. And this is kind of what you were alluding to, where like Sunny is helping Susie get out of this situation, where it's like, if you do this, like I'll distract them, kind of a buddy cop thing. And then we get this whole big, pretty, I guess, kind of thrilling sequence. And it immediately jumps to Susie saying like, I wonder why those doors opened for me. And Sunny's like, I don't know. Let's talk about something else. And I was like, no, let's fucking keep talking about the interesting things that happened. You're just like glossing over them.
Yeah, it's it gave real Morpheus Neo, you know, like when he's on the phone and it's like, you got to run now, go now, like go. We kind of got that kind of action going with this, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, then it's just like, all right, that's done. Next, you know, just like move on to the next thing. It's like, all right, cool, whatever.
The very last thing I wanted to mention is Sunny's dream at the end. Susie invites Sunny into bed, which I think is extremely premature in their relationship and understanding like who Susie is as a person and Sunny as a robot. And it's like, I understand made by Masa and like does the kind of goodbye hand signals. And so like there is that connection. But also like we just spent 2 episodes of Susie absolutely detesting this robot and is like, I need someone in my bed with me. I need to feel comforted. I found that a little strange. Sunny then basically we get a flashback to Masa in the room in which the robots were killed initially in episode 1, and him kind of being a part of that. And then Sunny like wakes up. And so this obviously begs the question, because it gets brought up multiple times, that Sunny's memory is only 1 day old, is only, 2 days
first
old.
Memory is meeting you.
Exactly. First memory is meeting Susie. And I can tell you right now, we will spend the rest of the season learning that Sunny has had memories all along, and Sunny has been omniscient and understood that all of these things have already happened, and Sunny is actually the robot from the room that they reprogrammed, and that this was Masa's way of getting the secret out that what they're doing at Ematech is bad, and it's all covered up through Sunny. And I'm sorry if I get it right, but I tell you right now, that's exactly where we're going with this show.
That's 100%. That's what it feels like. I'm curious like where they're at, especially with the son involved, but I definitely feel like there's a huge cover up going on here.
It does. Those things are intriguing. Like the political side and the cover up side of things is interesting. I think they're doing quite a poor job and mishandling like the plane mystery aspect and like the spy and like that kind of stuff. Like I really don't care that they're gone. I only care about the political tension with the robots.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Bad beat, tough. I guess we're locked into the show now. So
here we are. Yep.
Do you have a true cinema moment from one from both? We'll put them together and only choose one.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might just be the Matrix, metaphor thing of like hurry, get out of the building, like that connection, because was the most exciting thing that happened in the first 2 episodes. So that would probably be the thing that was my true cinema moment.
That's fair. I agree. It is the most exciting thing. My true cinema is when Susie meets Mixie at the bar. I liked Mixie a lot, and I thought her character was much more intriguing than Susie's, and I would like to circle back to Mixie. According to IMDb, she's in all 10 episodes of the first season.
Okay.
Also, there's 10 episodes, so we've got 8 to go.
All right.
We'll come back in probably about 9 weeks to cover the remaining episodes, and what we'll do is we'll clip the portion in which I predicted correctly the entirety of the show. That way, that'll actually just be that episode of the pod. We don't have to pod. I liked meeting Mixie. I thought she was cool. Good for her living her best life. Okay, A1 Act. We're doing Rashida Jones. We're doing A24 shows. I feel like we've done A24 shows before, but I always think it's worth doing because I constantly forget of their kind of wide berth of different television shows they have. We'll start with Rashida Jones. Of course, we've got Sunny, The Office, On the Rocks, The Social Network, Tag, Parks and Rec, I Love You Man, Celeste and Jess Forever, I think
Jessie.
is the title. Yeah. Jesse Forever. Jay-Z featuring Beyonce, Family Feud, the 444 music video, Unreal Poll. Drake, Nice for What music video. I haven't seen either of these, but the fact that they're on her IMDb, shout out to her. That's incredible.
I like it.
The Grinch, the animated version, she was a voice. Klaus, Duncanville, and another Apple TV Plus show called Silo. I believe she was in 1 episode of.
Okay. I'm going to go with The Office, and I'm going to say that Jim should end up with Karen, not Pam.
Whoa. Wow. Yeah. Whoa. Office pod when? Spill the tea, Ben. Holy
Karen
cow.
Filippelli. She was his true love.
Karen Filippelli. Karen Filippelli.
Yeah.
Is that Italian enough for you? Yeah, I agree with you. I think that what Jim and Karen had, a lot spicier than what Jim and Pam get up to. I just got to be honest with you. There's no question in my mind that they get down and dirty during office hours, probably. I think her in The Office is hilarious, and I love her in that show, and that's also what I'm going to be going with. Nice. Like I said at the top of the episode, I never ever seek out Rashida Jones, and I have nothing against Rashida Jones. I hate women in general, so like she just falls in the bucket. Tough beat, but like I never ever I just don't ever try to find her stuff. I don't know. I think she's fine, I guess, but whatever. So that's where I'm at. A24 shows. We've got Sunny, The Sympathizer, another show that we covered the first episode of. And we never got back to, and that's a personal issue on our ends. Sometimes you can't.
There's a lot of shows.
There's a lot of shit to watch out there. We've got The Curse, a show that secretly, or I guess not so secretly anymore, Words Out. We're covering next week on the pod.
I gotta watch that.
Just let you know. Don't even start with me. The Idol, Euphoria, Rami, John Mulaney and the Sack Lunch Bunch, Mr. Corman, Irma Vep, Beef, and Has Been Hotel. We've covered a good amount of these shows here on the pod. I know, like, I remember way back when Euphoria was on, we were breaking Euphoria down, having a pretty great time on a pretty consistent basis.
I've never heard of Mr. Corman. What in the fuck is this?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt? Wow, what a pull. I've heard of it. I know it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's on Apple TV Plus, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, Apple TV Plus, A24.
Who would have thought? Deep in the depths of my brain, a poll like that. I have no idea what it's about, but that's all I know.
Described as a deep cut into the days and nights of a public school teacher in San Fernando Valley. That's it.
Huh. Is that more intriguing than Sunny?
No, I don't think so. Maybe, but
doesn't beat it out.
10 episodes. Yeah, I don't know.
I think we should do a Mr. Corman pod next week. Just drop the curse altogether. All 10 episodes, Mr. Corman.
Just let's get into it. The people want it. They want this from October 2021, this show that was on.
Yeah, absolutely. The people are clamoring for it.
They need it. I mean, there's some great stuff in here, obviously, like Euphoria and Beef, but I want to shout out Has Been Hotel because I had a lot of fun watching that. That was a fun show. I like the musical aspects of it. Just really funny. So that's what I'm going to go with. I don't think it's the best thing on here, but that's what I'm going to shout out.
Wanted to keep your idol takes secret, right? You didn't want to find your hive too soon.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to show off my weekend tattoo on my back.
Yeah, your huge weekend face plastered right between your shoulders. I want to give a shout out to Irma Vep. That's what I'm gonna choose here. We covered it here on the show. I think it is a real hidden gem, like among television shows. And I know the only reason that we watched it was because we covered it here on the show. But like every time I hear about that show, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a great show. Like I loved watching that. I thought it was really interesting, really cool show. Obviously, Euphoria is probably the most popular. Maybe never coming back in when they're in college. Who the hell knows what's going on with Euphoria?
That was one thing that I learned through all these reviews of Maxine was that like Sam Levinson was involved in this show in Maxine.
Dude, he's been involved since X. I think it is a very strange thing.
Oh, interesting.
He's been an executive producer on all 3 Ty West films.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Very interesting given his history. I think that is quite strange, to be honest. That's what he's busy doing. Okay. A24 ranking for the first 2 episodes of Sunny. I'm going to go with a C24. Just like,
okay.
I don't think it's terrible or bad. I also don't like necessarily think it's good. I think it is a show that exists on a streaming platform, and that's about it.
I like that. I think I'm going to go a little bit more optimistic, and I'm going to give it a B minus 24.
Oh, okay.
And that's hoping that things, like pick up and are interesting. Because again, I don't know that I would watch this if it wasn't for the pod. Even after episode 2, I'm still just like, I'm interested, but I could go the rest of my life without knowing how Sunny ends, But I am curious to watch it for the pod and see if it changes my outlook.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, I don't know. I hope they do something cool. It's not that I'm a downtrodden person. It's not that I don't believe they have it in them. I just don't believe they have it in them. I just don't think that they're gonna make anything really cool out of this. Unfortunately. Any final thoughts on Sunny? Anything that you forgot to mention? Anything you want to go back on and say like you actually already have a robot at home doing your deeds?
I dig the fashion that Rashida Jones is bringing to the show. Those white boots were something else. So.
Great shout. I loved those white boots.
Yeah, I'm into the fashion that this show is bringing for sure.
Yeah, I will say that. I like that aspect of it. That's probably like one of the very few aspects where you're like, oh, okay, cool. This is kind of set in a little futuristic. And very definitely like very Japanese stylings, which I really appreciate. Yeah, I don't have any final thoughts. Like I said, I think it's fine. Next week on the pod, we're finally doing it. I feel like we've said this maybe 2 or 3 times on the show where we're like, next week we're talking about The Curse. I swear to fucking God, we are talking about The Curse next week. Episodes 6 through 10. Have you watched them yet?
Stay tuned next week to find out. We'll see.
Damn it. Dang it. Oh, man.
What if I show up without having watched any of them and just like BS my way through
I
it?
genuinely think that would be a fascinating pod.
It'd be really funny.
I'm not deterring you from doing that by any means.
Yeah. Like,
that would be a Nathan Fielder thing to do.
When Nathan Fielder pulls out his Uzi and shoots everyone, that's crazy. That's so weird.
You remember that scene? That's wild. Oh, I must have got like a
nuts.
director's cut. That's crazy.
I got my bootleg, The Curse DVDs. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Exciting stuff. I'm really thrilled to talk about The Curse. And I just can't wait. I can't wait to see what you think. That's it.
Yeah, I'm curious to find that out as well. So yeah, join us next week to see what we think about The Curse. Let us know what you thought about the first 2 episodes of Sunny. We're on Twitter and Instagram at 24 minutes of A24. And don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube where you can watch us talk about these things. We appreciate everyone's support. It means a lot. So thank you everyone for listening and watching and all that kind of stuff. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. Spring break forever, bitches.